Hello, everybody, and my screen looks kind of hazy. Does it appear that way to y'all? I tried to wipe my camera lens off, but for whatever reason, it's not. It's not getting unhazy for
Hey
some
y'all.
reason. I hope that you're able to hear us over this air conditioning, but it's like in the high 90s out there. Humidity's crazy where we are, even in Wisconsin. Does it look kind of hazy there?
It looks like you're in heaven.
No, 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 no. Does it look hazy or
Yes, it looks
I don't
it
know
looks fuzzy.
why it does that. Yeah, it looks like a smudge. It does, but it's not. Well, I say it wouldn't. It may have been a
Wow.
little. It may have been a little smudgy.
May have been a fingerprint.
Might have been a fingerprint.
It
Um,
fingerprinted.
yeah. Yeah. I know the heat is just terrible. I know the other day I was talking to some friends of mine in South Alabama, and they said the heat was 104 with on the actual temperature was 104, and their heat index was like 115. And I said, "Man, I feel for you." I was sitting in the car up here, and it was 64 degrees, and that was like 3 days ago. And but now it's like night.
So the reason we're with you guys tonight is because we got tickets to the premiere of the Elvis movie for tomorrow night. It's the preview. It's previewing across the nation before it comes out on Friday. So we'll tell you how we like it. Our son loved it.
Yeah, Dakota loved it. He, of course, he went and saw it. So he had some way he had a friend that was into a
A publicist
publicist,
friend that had the ends with the Elvis movie.
and he said, "Hey, would you? I got some tickets for that Elvis thing. Uh, that the night they're doing it for press. Would you like to go?" And he said, "Yeah." And Dakota City walked out, and there were chairs that said Rolling Stone magazine. Uh, a bunch of the other magazines right there, and
They
so
took him and his friend from work. She was very excited too.
yeah,
But they took them to the front row, and the security guard told them, don't take your phones out, don't check what time it is, don't look at your phones at all, or you will be escorted out.
and that
There
was for the
will
whole
be
theater.
the whole theater. They put it under Jurassic Park, the movie Jurassic Park, but it was really Elvis
It
playing.
was not even
It was really, yeah.
nobody really even knew that. So he was felt real privileged to be able to go with all of these people like Rolling Stone magazine and other people like that. And they at the same time they had a showing for Priscilla Presley and some of Elvis's family
At
and everything at
Memphis, yeah.
Graceland, wasn't it Graceland
Yeah,
they
it was
did it?
at Graceland,
Yeah.
and Priscilla said this was the most true story of what really happened with Elvis.
So we're excited to go see that tomorrow night. We're seeing it uh, really a week before.
No, just it
A
comes out
week
on
before it
Friday.
comes out,
It comes
right?
out Friday.
Okay, a couple of
This is
days
Tuesday,
before
yeah.
it actually comes out. So we're gonna see. Had to make. Of course, this theater is weird. You have to make reservations for the theater. I've never up until we did see Top Gun Maverick, but we had to make. But they have big recliners. I mean, they're nice. You
Yeah,
can fall
I had to
asleep
wake him
with them.
up twice. He was
No, you
snoring.
didn't. But they have huge recliners that and I think they have food and everything in there. We were on our fast during that time.
Yes, we were.
But they of course they have beverages and all kinds of other stuff there. Not that we would be drinking, but they do have that there. And I got something in my eye. Do y'all hear this air conditioning? Is it loud? I mean, can you hear it or to this buffing.
All
Our
right.
Starlink is still blocked by there we are again. We do not have a clear view of the sky yet, so we are buffing every now and then. And if I go to my Starlink page, it tells me about every minute you're going to buff some. Uh, so if you just bear with me until we can get out somewhere where we
Gracie, leave Moses alone.
don't have anything blocking
Max said
the.
they can hear us just fine.
Okay.
The fur babies are laying on the floor. The cat wants out. He is a serial chipmunk killer, and he's been
killing some chipmunks big time. He takes some and catches them and lets them go, though, about half and half. But apparently he's had some that maybe they try to fight him. I don't know the deal, but he ends up killing them.
So what are we talking about tonight?
Talking about a few people, but
why are you so
I
sleepy?
do not know. Every time I get on the computer, I'm so sleepy. I don't know what it is. One thing I want to do, first thing is I want to congratulate the interview room. I understand that he just crossed over 100,000 subscribers.
Woo-hoo!
That is big. That is big time from YouTube. If you got 100,000 subscribers, YouTube is paying you a pretty good salary, and I want to congratulate him. He actually started after we switched channel, so he's doing something right. One other thing we want to talk about also continuously, they're asking again in the news if you could put this picture out of Michael Monkey Vaughn, that his mother is begging people to still keep his face in the news and share it on your Facebook page. Apparently, I read today again that they think they know who the white car belongs to, but they're apparently maybe it's a sex offender, maybe it's someone that they think they can get some evidence on, but they're not mentioning who it is, and they sure haven't got an arrest, and they're just still hopeful that he is alive. If he is alive, then you can imagine if he was abducted by a sex offender, what he's having to go through. But, we can just hope that he is alive. First person I want to bring up today, and I just got basically some people that are out here that are missing that nobody talks about. One thing I want to say, though, I did check again with Summer Wells, and I know that the interview room is doing something on Summer Wells again, I think today, or maybe it was last week. I did watch it. There's not much information. There's not. They were just pretty much rehashing older stuff and rehashing things. But see, Summer Wells' parents are no longer cooperating with law enforcement, and so that makes it hard for everybody, that's doing an investigation. First person I want to talk about here is that thing disappear out there. Let you read that.
It's a missing Ukrainian girl. Because she's been in the country for less than 6 months and speaks rudimentary English, her adoptive parents, Bethany and Nick Wright, are especially concerned about her safety. They suspect that based on conversations with Lear's friend, likely with an older teen or a Russian-speaking man she met online. She's very vulnerable and susceptible online, Bethany said, noting that I think I got a smudge. Noting that Lara, while living in the Ukraine orphanage for 4 years before being adopted, had issues with potential trafficking situations. Someone has convinced her that her family is not a good family life. Bethany said she never experienced home life, and we're very worried.
And the one thing you got to worry about is, and we saw it a lot down on the Gulf Coast, is that we dealt with some Russian people from Russia that had they were involved in drug trafficking and a lot of stuff. And I don't, Russian mob is incredibly vicious. Now she's missing from Gillette, Wyoming, so she's 15 years old, around 5 foot tall, 110 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes. So if anybody's out there that knows her or knows where she's at, encouraged to call the police and let them know. If she's involved with someone older from Russia, um, I can imagine. I mean, and not everybody from Russia is involved with organized crime, but I have witnessed myself some people from Russia that were involved. The information that I had that they were involved in organized crime, and then also we had some Russian uh, women working in on a lot of the uh, bars, and they worked in souvenir shops. Were the ones that were the people were taking their passports. They were restricting their activities. Just a whole lot of stuff going on. So, and also, and believe it or not, we had several police officers that married Russian girls that were over here. Just and one reason I think is these girls were wanting to stay in the United States, and I mean they're very pretty girls, and they're wanting to stay in the United States. And where's that? I was trying to get something, but they just got they got involved with officers and they got married.
Kimberly said, "Have y'all heard anything about Olivia Fowler?" And I was looking at, whoops,
I have not. I haven't had her
um,
family contact us to see.
no, nothing on here. It's not since May. I saw where in May the FBI
Yeah,
joined the hunt um, in the search for her. So that's a good thing that the FBI is involved.
yeah, and you know what? I wish that as I keep talking a lot about the U.S. Marshals because I know for a fact that they are truly what I call manhunters. I mean, they can find you, and if you're a escapee or wanted from anything, U.S. Marshals can find you. They're incredible. They're incredible. What kind of means they use to hunt you down? I've got friends that work with the marshals, and I can tell you, it's amazing. I wish they had a group like that that would pursue these type of cases. But a lot of these cases that we're going to talk about tonight probably left on their own. They've ran away. They left their on their own. They wasn't abductions, But the problem is they get out there on their own and they get mixed up in some type of human trafficking, prostitution,
some dirtbag or
everything.
sleaze bag promises them the
Porn,
sun and the moon and the stars, and
or they get involved with pornography, or
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
They don't walk up to them and say, "Hey, we're going to put you in some pornography music. We're going to handcuff you to a bed and have men coming in all day long."
Right.
They don't tell them that. "Oh, baby, I got plenty of money. I can set you up in your own
You're
condo."
going to be a Hollywood. You're going to be a movie star, and they get
and they fall
involved
for
in
it.
that. They fall for it. Right.
So sad.
But going back to this girl here, I mean, she's
She is
already though, but getting down there really, really, it scares me that she had been,
already been tried to be
right,
trafficked over in
trafficked,
Ukraine.
human trafficking, potential human trafficking.
That was in the Ukraine orphanage.
Right. So, and she can speak Russian probably too. This girl's missing since June the 6th. 2022 from Kansas City, Missouri. She's 14, a female, 5'4", 155 pounds. She's black with brown eyes, and no information was given at the where I got this from about why or how she left, but
Hold on,
you
let me
know,
see if I
could be a runaway. Terra Queen, I think it is, could be a runaway, but I get this too. If they do run away, they get mixed, easily get mixed up in some type of to get involved in some type of human trafficking. And Kansas City's a pretty big city. You know, that's the one thing. Like the last one we talked about, Gillette, Wyoming. Gillette is not that big. It's a real small town. In fact, it's on the northeastern side of Wyoming. But do you see anything about it?
I was looking and there's nothing. If
That's
you
what I
put in,
saw.
yeah, I know. If you put in here, there's one thing way down here.
And you know, I don't know if y'all saw. I even mentioned this to my daughter, and she said, "When did that happen?" But I don't know if you've watched the news on Yellowstone. They've got all kinds of flooding of roads up there, and the whole park's closed. All of Yellowstone Park is closed. 22 million acres. So that's a very. I mean, the animals are okay. They're all, you know. I hate. We were planning on even going before diesel got so crazy. Okay. This young lady here, June 7th, 2022, from Tampa, Florida. This is another one, 14 years old. Most likely, these are runaways, or they would have something explaining in it about what happened. Um, 5'7", 125 pounds, brown hair, blue eyes. Tampa's huge
Candalee,
too.
Candalee said, I feel
Sarah
that
Smith.
Ellie, law enforcement working in Summer's case are hiding a lot of the truth in the hills.
Well, I believe when it all comes, it's hard for me to believe that they haven't made an arrest already. It's hard for me to believe that they haven't come out and they said that no one is uh, ruled out, but I believe I believe it originated at the house. I believe that it's my opinion is if I was if I'm just speculating, I believe they're gonna have something families something to do with it. That's just my opinion. And but you think this is something that I thought about today and see what you think. I don't know if you see the house where it was from the trailer, but why does she have to walk Summer back to the back of the house, let her get in? One thing, if it's fairly safe, they got, I don't know, 50, 60 dogs up there,
Not 50. I think it
why,
was 50.
well, why do they have to walk her to the back of the house? And then another thing is, if I came in and one of my kids are not in the room, I may not ask them where is so and so for 20, 30 minutes. I mean, I'm not like, why does she all of a sudden say, where is Summer? I mean, she's got a playroom downstairs. It just, she might have, but then if she did, why did she, when she couldn't find it right away, automatically think, she's been kidnapped or whatever? I mean,
That wouldn't
I
be my
think
first thought in the woods.
I would be walking around outside the house
Right.
and hollering for her, or going down to grandma's again, and I'd be checking around a bunch of places before I automatically just freak the heck out. If it's around my house, if it's around stranger place, maybe, but I could just think of the way I'm comparing it to is Medina's dad's got a farm, and around the house where they got a barn, they got a pond, they got this and that, And if I just come in and I don't see my daughter, you know, I don't think right away I'd be freaking out saying somebody snatched her just because I couldn't locate her right around the house. I just wouldn't. But, I don't know.
No, that's true because at Dad's house, she could have been in the barn.
She
She
could
could
have
have
been
been
anywhere.
down by the pond. She could have been in the eating room, the greenhouse, in any
Right.
part of the house.
Or she could be with one of your
Front
brothers or
yards,
whatever.
yeah. I mean,
You know, it's just it's a difficult situation. I think in the long run, I want to know, were they really polygraphed? That's what I want to know. Were they really polygraphed, and who did it? Who did the polygraph? Uh, this is another girl. This the same way. There's not much
Catherine Swinford.
information. 14 years old from North Port Richey, Florida. And I've never heard of that city, so it's probably a smaller city. Newport Richey, Florida.
Amber said that that's what she did first. They all started looking for her first, allegedly.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something weird about all that. I'm just telling you. 5'5", 136 pounds. She's blonde and green eyes, 14 years old. Yeah, but didn't they say the way I understand it was she came in, asked the kids where's Summer. They said she went downstairs to play. And then immediately she goes there, Summer. Summer calls them for her. Can't find her. Goes downstairs, sees the door open. That's what I read somewhere. They find the door downstairs open. One thing is, if somebody was to snatch, why would they leave the door open? You know? Why would you do that? Why would you, by leaving the door open, you're saying, hey, I got her. I'm gone this way. Um, okay. So did she go check at her grandmother's first? Did she, it was kind of, I, what I've read is it was pretty much right away. She called her husband, she's missing, and then called 911 on another phone or something like that. But I read too where the husband automatically says somebody's abducted her. That automatically, that's what he says. Somebody's abducted her. Or when he sees the mother looking for her and the kids looking for her, somebody's abducted her. I mean, that would be the last thing I would think of. Even in my family, I would think that maybe they got lost down the hill.
If Tommy called me and said our
mean?
kids were missing, I'd say, no, you didn't look in the right places.
Yeah, I mean, her dad's got a farm. Just thinking, just put it in another situation. Dad's got a big farm over there, and if um, I'd start looking down at the farm. I'd start looking by the creek. I'd start looking by other places that kids go to play and stuff.
Muscadine.
I personally would not originally say, "Oh, well, somebody's abducted." That would be kind of the last thing, especially up at a place where they live, where I understand they had a gate to get into it. It was not something that an ordinary car could go up there and do. Like I said, they got all these dogs that's going to alert them. And I'm telling you, it don't matter who you are. If you come to my house, come to our RV. If you drive up in this driveway, it don't matter who you are. Maggie's going to let us know that somebody's in the driveway. I mean, she is going to let us know. So, it's kind of hard to believe that with all these dogs out there, that somebody could grab her and take her off.
Amber said Sheriff Lawson said the boys were the last to see her, and neighbors said her mom was hollering for her.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's a difficult situation, but like I said, I would love to know if the FBI or the TBI polygraphed both of them, and what did they think about the polygraph. If it was um, inconclusive, if it was deceptive, or were they actually telling the truth? Both of them. I want to know if they were both polygraphed. if they came back and polygraphed and said, "Oh yeah, 100% truth with no doubt," then yeah, I think somebody did maybe abduct her. How they abduct her, I don't have any idea. Um, this is another girl. She's missing. 14 years old. You notice most of these are 13, 14, 15. From Hattiesville, Maryland. 14 years old female, 4'6", 130 pounds, black hair, brown eyes. Last seen wearing a black sweater and black sweatpants. And like I said, there's no information on these that I can find. Uh, More or less, probably runaways. Missing May 25th, 2022, from El Paso, Texas. 13-year-old male, 5'6", 620 pounds, black brown eyes. It doesn't say again, but El Paso is right there at the border, so that scares me. Was he um, abducted, or was he just a runaway?
Amber said Dr. said they both passed a polygraph.
Yeah, Dr. Phil did, but I want to know if the FBI polygraphed him, and if or TBI did he polygraph him, and if they do want more than one polygraph. Because and I'm not saying what they did. Don't get me wrong, but if somebody takes certain medication like Xanax or some type of antidepressant, then they can pass polygraph pretty easy, because polygraph acts on your sweat of your hands, your breathing pattern, your heart rate, your blood pressure, and sedatives like Xanax and everything. They take all that stuff down. They take they make the body just pretty much calm down. Of course, they asked him in the polygraph, "Have you taken anything?" It make it hard to believe if they truly did pass the polygraph. Uh, I mean, polygraphs are not 100%, but if both of them truly passed the polygraph, then then maybe they did have an abduction. But the one thing too that the the husband says, "I stand by my wife. I got to believe my wife." I don't know, maybe he has some doubt, you know. I don't know.
Okay, so Lori says, so the kid Oscar, you wonder if he was abducted but not Summer? That doesn't make sense.
Oscar.
The last one you did.
Well,
Boy,
I'm just going by what the evidence, let me just put it this way. I'm looking at, I don't know where he lived at. He may not be. He may be a runaway. I don't know where he lived at. Everybody's examined pictures of where Summer lived. You got a grandmother that was up there. You got the mother that was up there, and you have the two brothers that were up there. You have 15 to 20 dogs that were running around there. You have a driveway that they talked about to it. I think it was one of the people that went up there to interview them. You almost had to have a four-wheel drive to get up the driveway, and that they had to unlock a gate to get to the house, a chain to get to the house. So I'm just trying to say, okay, how is an abductor that's not known to the family, that's not a suspect, get to that house without one, unlocking the gate, and being seen coming up the driveway, because it's an only house up in that area. It's not like it's a road they just keep going, you know. How do they do that? How does without dogs barking and letting them know, hey, somebody's here strange. You got 15, 20 dogs out there. How do they get past the grandmother seeing them? How do they get past a Candace seeing them? And how the two boys not hear her holler, scream, or whatever in the house, you know. And then downstairs, when the police get there, you know, sure, I heard that a canine track, and they did go into the woods, but it was not enough for the police to say, proof positive. The police are investigating. They did not come out and say, well, we tracked a trail. We know it's her, and we tracked the trail all the way to this point, and then it looks like somebody picked her up in a car. The police haven't said that at all. It may be true, but the police haven't said that. I'm just looking at the totality of circumstances from my experience in law enforcement. You know, of course, I'll tell you, the most of my career, I have worked missing person cases, and I have worked cases where the people ended up being killed. They actually killed themselves in an accident or whatever. We're not sure if it was intentional or not. And I've worked cases, homicides, and I worked suicides, and I worked child predator cases, a huge amount of them. But most of my job was working narcotics, where we did surveillance and we looked at traffic patterns and we looked at human trafficking and we looked at all of this kind of stuff. Then I've been to tons of schools that have examined all of these modus operandi. They're how they commit the crime. You know, you got to have motive. You got to have the opportunity to do it. And I just have a big time opportunity situation. How in the world can a guy get up there and get her with the biggest thing to me is the dogs? They didn't say anything about the dogs going crazy and barking and stuff. And I tell you, my dogs, I don't care. I can come to the authority by myself at night, and if they don't know who I am right away, my dog's going to raise Cain. One, two dogs, a little dog and a big dog. So I just want to know if somebody can tell me how a conductor can get up there in there, and I don't care if he knows those dogs. They would be barking and alerting Candace that something was up. If you can tell me that, then I'll gladly say you're right and I'm wrong. But I just don't know how that can happen.
Okay, Amber said Sheriff Lawson also confirmed with Brian Enton that Wells both passed their polygraph. Amber also said there was also a lot of out-of-towners who'd been trying to find property for sale.
Okay, but did they come up their driveway? A chain driveway, locked driveway? A chain? I have looked. We drove around Tennessee many, many times, years before we found us a place to buy up there when we used to live there. If chain across the road, nobody's going through that chain. Out of towners or anything's going through that chain. They don't want to get shot. Up in Tennessee and places like that, people, they carry shotguns with them in their trucks, and they don't like people trespassing on their property. And so, if they both pass the polygraph, then sure, they are going to have to look at different means of something happening. But I'm going to tell you this too, and polygraphs are a way to eliminate people usually, but they're not 100%. That's why the court doesn't allow them. I mean, I'm just not totally convinced. Now, here's another theory that has been thrown out there that I've heard. I've read this, whether or not it's true or not, I don't know. That maybe that maybe there was drugs involved and somebody owed somebody money, and they were trying to get their money, taking something from them or whatever. But if it's a predator, they would have to know that they could. Okay, I've heard. Well, they got in the back door, the basement back door where she was playing downstairs, the downstairs back door. One, they would have to know that back door is unlocked. One, know that it doesn't have an alarm system up
And
there.
they're doing it with kids in the house upstairs.
Right, doing it with kids in the house upstairs. They would have to know that Candace is not in the house. They would have to know the dogs. The dogs is the biggest hindrance for me, because I'm telling you, I I've gone to hundreds of houses on search warrants and on calls for
Well, hello.
domestics, and calls for theft reports. Take a theft report at a house, and you get over there and there's a dog in the yard. I'm telling you, the dogs, they act like they want to eat you up, and they may not even bite you. 9 times out of 10, you go in there and they'll say, "Oh, they don't bite," but these dogs are like, they're barking and everything, and that is the biggest thing for me. People, that's one thing I tell you. If you got a dog in your house, you're less likely to get broken in on at night. I don't care if that dog's weighs 3 pounds. If that dog barks, a criminal does not want to deal with a dog. The smaller, the ankle biters especially,
Okay.
they don't want to deal with a dog.
Let me tell you this. Candalee said, "Tell me this. They had tree trimmers there all day and they saw nothing." Okay, convince me. And then Amber said the real estate listings weren't completely accurate. Allegedly, their neighbors said people were constantly coming to all the neighbors' homes looking for it. But still,
There's tree trimmers at their
I'm
house
thinking, no, wait a minute. I'm thinking
or on the roadway.
somebody that would take her is not, they're not going to go looking for property perverts.
First off, I don't believe that there people are up there looking for property, and they say, "Whoa,
Oh, there's
there's a house right there," and you know what? Look, there's a door to the bottom of the house. Let's go up there and open that door. And oh, don't worry about those 25 dogs in the yard
You keep
or
adding
15 dogs in the yard. Don't worry about them dogs. And yeah, they get chained across the road, but past Tennessee, don't worry about that. I'm telling you, that don't make no sense to me. Um,
We lived on a farm in Tennessee
listen,
with our house back off the road.
I did. I only had one person that ever came up my driveway. It was not chained, didn't have a gate across it. They went up my driveway about 100 yards at night. It was a full moon night, and after dark. And when
What'd you see?
their lights went out, I came out with a shotgun and tapped on their window and told them that this is private property and they needed to leave. But they didn't get up close to where my house was, where the dogs are, or my dogs would have let us know that, hey, there's a stranger in the yard, go bite them or go attack them or whatever. You are the tree trimmers, were you talking about they were on the main road, or they around their house?
They were right in front of their house and dogs weren't barking.
You mean they were like 10 feet from their house?
Were they on the road cutting trees?
Yeah, it sounds like they're like Tennessee and stuff. They'll be out on the main road. I don't if they're on their driveway, that means that Candace and the husband were paying for them to trim trees on their driveway, because usually the people that trim trees are not paid by the homeowners. They're paid by the state, and they're out there on their state right of way that does that. I don't know. I have a real problem with the dogs. That's just my issue. I don't know how the dogs, unless these people out there trimming trees on their property and they got used to it, or are they trimming trees I never heard anything about trimming trees around Candace's house.
Another person who claimed to help Candace said their dogs would run off into the woods barking, etc. They came back with wounds, and Candace said they were bears, allegedly.
I can't believe they're bears.
Bears in the woods, yes.
Yeah, but I don't believe their bears attack their dogs. 15 dogs. I don't know. This all seems a little far-fetched to me. I'll be honest with you.
At some point, somebody's going to say aliens abducted.
Yeah, I've heard everything. If it was my case, if I'm looking at it from the looking at it from the point of,
They were hired to cut trees for the telephone poles.
okay, so were they on
Yeah,
the
but-
roadway or were they up her driveway?
Okay,
And
but
let's just say that they were up Candace's driveway, the telephone guys, the telephone. You're saying they never saw anybody take the Summer. They never did see the dogs.
are you
What are you saying?
Or are you saying that possibly one of the tree guys took her? I mean, see, how would he even get her back? I don't know. This is just it's all speculation.
Usually the guys out there trimming trees are honest,
Okay,
hardworking
all right.
guys.
Lori said there was a creep camping in the woods right next to the property. Sex offenders always around. No excessive traffic, but numerous people visiting various people on the road.
Oh,
I've never heard about this.
I thought that information was out after that she was missing.
I never heard that about him camping on the property.
I heard that there was somebody camping out there after she was missing. Is that not correct? The creepy guy, was he not camping out after that? I don't know. Have they identified him and questioned him?
If he was a sex offender,
I mean, that's a arrestable offense within.
Yeah, she said he was before Summer came up missing.
Have they identified him? Talked to him? And who said they were sex offenders all around, not necessarily excessive traffic? I looked at a map before. I remember this a while ago, where I looked at a map and looked at all the sex offenders in that around there. Because they were way out in the sticks, there wasn't that many sex offenders around the house. There were sex offenders in that town, but not necessarily around the house.
There's sex offenders everywhere around.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess everybody kind of has an opinion on what happened, but apparently it's going to take more than just what me and you and everybody says that the evidence is there, because look how long it's been, and the FBI and Tennessee Bureau of Investigation and Sheriff's Department hadn't come up with anything.
All right, listen, Candalee said they questioned them. No one saw anything. They brought in canines, and the dogs alerted on Jodas's feet. Lawson, in related to the most on the hill, is related to the most on the hill. They alerted to Jodas Lawson. I don't know. He's related to most of the people on the hill. Lots of YouTubers have pointed out trails throughout the woods leading up to the house. My dogs bark at me daily, and until they see me, they are loud.
Well, even when mine see me, if they're not 100% sure it's me, they bark. We even had a cat.
What did you just
did
say?
something there.
Moses?
I got. We'll talk about her in a minute too. That's Isabel Jones from Tulsa, Oklahoma, 13 years old, 5'5", 130 pounds. It's also from Oklahoma. We'll talk about Summer in just a second. I'll get through these. These faces need to be out there, if nothing else.
Come here, big boy.
Come on. Ashley, I can't even pronounce that. Plant City, Florida, 13 years old, 5'2", 100 pounds, red hair, and hazel eyes.
Plant City is where
Plant
Aaron
City.
lives.
We actually know. Yeah, look, our boy there, he's been staying outside a lot, even when it's hot.
I've been killing things.
But he's got his eyes closed now. He likes to sit on Dina.
Yeah, especially at night, and makes me so hot. I wake up burning up.
It weighs about 20
Half of
something
the dogs
pounds.
came from people who dumped them there. The wells would feed them.
Let's see, I think we talked about this girl. Yeah, it has. This is
Xavier.
Xavier Gaines from Rayton, Missouri. 13 years old.
There's a lot of young people missing.
5'10", 190 pounds, black hair and brown eyes. Rayton, I've never heard of Rayton.
Raytown.
Raytown. Also, June 14th of 2022,
11 years
Detroit,
old.
Michigan, 11-year-old, 5'1", 110 pounds from Detroit. And that's scary right there for sure. And you know, you talking about gang and all this. We got a gang up here in Milwaukee,
What they called
the Kia Boys.
Kia Boys.
And they steal Kia, primarily Kia cars. If you got a Kia,
it's killed a couple of people.
yeah, what they've done is they steal these cars. They drive up on the sidewalks. And during school, letting out people from school, and they drove right up on the sidewalk and they run over 2 or 3 kids driving 100 miles an hour down the road. They've hit and killed 2 or 3 people. They hit a older man standing. He was a war veteran. He was standing inside a light pole. They ran across the road, ran over him over and killed him. Ran another black female over, I think killed her. And they've wrecked, just run. They don't even stop. I mean, don't even stop at all at red lights or stop signs. They run through them 100 miles an hour, and they're just crashing the cars. And the problem is they're not prosecuting them for auto theft. They're prosecuting them. They're not they're juveniles to start off with.
Yeah, 11,
so
12, 13, 14.
basically getting off and not staying in jail long, and they just get out and do it again. They call it the Kia Boys, and it's a pretty big gang of them up here. And they had an interview with one of them. They had some YouTuber out here that, in fact, I think if you go on YouTube, you can see his channel. He interviewed one of them, and there's young kids. This young kids on no mask, nothing on. He said, "Yeah." He said, "We steal these cars," and he said, "It's going to be a bloody summer." That's exactly what he said. It's going to be
From
a bloody
14-year-old.
Yeah, 14-year-old. It's going to be a bloody summer. And so, you know, and a lot of there's a lot of crime here in Milwaukee around certain streets of the projects. A off-duty Chicago police officer that was 2 guys tried to rob him. He shot both of those, killed one, and then the other one got away. And then, but they like the other night they had like 8 or 9 shootings, and 2 or 3 people died, and one I think a 15-year-old boy died too. So I mean, it's just you know, you get in the wrong place, wrong time, and you get shot. So we are careful what neighborhoods we go in after dark. Even in daytime, one of these happened. They had 2 boys shot in McDonald's parking lot in broad daylight. So you got to be careful.
Well, actually, we had just through that neighborhood about an hour before that.
Yeah, exactly. So you got to be careful. You know, downtown is not that bad, but
you're making me hot.
Downtown's not that bad, but some of the neighborhoods are. Okay, let me ask y'all.
Did you get a wall?
Yeah. Let me ask you something. How many feel like we had a stranger abduction at Summers? Summer was abducted. Stranger abduction. How many feel that way? Just give me a yay, a W. I mean a Y right there. If you believe that.
That it was a stranger abduction?
Stranger abduction. Do you think it was a sex offender living in the woods abduction?
I didn't know there was a sex offender living in the woods.
You know, there's so many moving parts on this thing. wasn't, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't there a relative that had been in jail for sexual abuse of a child? One of the relatives, maybe a brother or something of uh, one of them. Wasn't that? I read something about that where they had a family member or something that had been in jail for sexual abuse of a child. Wasn't staying at the house, but was a relative. Have y'all heard that? Don's
Don's son.
son.
Yeah,
Maybe it was Don's son.
it was.
He was older. He's older though, isn't he? About 30 years old or something. I mean that just ding 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 bells in my head too. You know, I mean he would a grandmother's brother. Here's the thing: any of these people would know these dogs out there. You know, yeah, they might bark for a little bit of a time, but any of those people might be able to, get them up, know these dogs. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know. No, you can't accuse their parents without proof. That is real true. You can't. And listen, I don't blame them if they're not involved at all. I don't blame them for not talking to the police now. Uh, if the police are centering on them. But if the police had not centered on them as suspects, then I say, why not go out and cooperate with the police? Because the interview room is not police. I'm not the police. I'm retired. He's retired. Uh, all Duty Ron, he's not the police. He's retired. All of us are retired. We didn't really, be honest with you, our opinion means nothing. You hear me? Our opinion means absolutely nothing. We might as well be just accusing John Smith out there on the street somewhere. It means absolutely nothing. We're just expressing our opinion only. So if you're not being accused by law enforcement, if you're not being questioned, and they've already been questioned by law enforcement, start off with, if the law enforcement is not making you feel like you're being accused, then why not cooperate with them? Get you a lawyer and then say, yeah, we still cooperate, but we're going to have our lawyer here to make sure that you're not coming down on us, you know?
Well, we've told our children and our nieces, our nephew, everybody, if police bring you in and they want to question you and they say, we want to read you your rights, the first thing out of your mouth is lawyer.
Yeah, because, I mean, if they're reading your rights, folks, they suspect you of doing something wrong. You don't read somebody their rights if you're not a suspect. You don't have to. The way it says in the Constitution, the way the law says, if I'm just talking to you on the street about what happened, say I come up and their house is on fire, and I say, yes, is this your house? And you say, yes. And I say, you want to tell me what happened? I'm just gathering information. But the minute you say, well, I owe a little insurance, and you started a fire or something like that, and I'd say, whoa, at that point you become a suspect. Then I have to say, let me just say something to you. You got the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to talk to a lawyer and have him with you when you're being questioned. If you cannot afford a lawyer, want to be appointed for you free of charge. If you decide to start talking right now without a lawyer, you have the right to stop talking at any time until you talk to a lawyer. Do you understand these rights? Yeah, yes, sir, I understand them. You still want to talk to me? Yeah, I want to talk to you. Then you're okay. Anything they say after that point, it's a prayer game. You can charge him. He's done everything. But what they can do is, what if it was my child, I'd want to still cooperate with the police if the police were not centering on me. If the police are not
Like they
centering
did
on
with
on a lot of folks out there that are not involved, they're finding out, hey, they're not involved. But
Monkey's parents.
yeah, I mean, hey, get you an attorney. attorney can sit with you while you're being questioned and then give you your rights right there, you know. But I would be cooperating if I were not involved. I'll just tell you that right
So if the policeman reads me my rights, I'm gonna say, I want to call Robert.
now. We have Robert is a very close friend of mine. He was my partner in narcotics for 5 years. He is now a #1 defense attorney in the state of Alabama. He represents more death penalty cases than anybody in the state of Alabama, and he never advertises a single thing on for advertisement at all, and he's covered up with clients. Um, let's see what she said here. I think I was talking about this earlier. Just completely lost. Maybe did they have nothing to do else offer whole situation it was awesome. Yeah, and another thing too, the parents, and I'm not saying this in talking down on them, but they do not appear to be highly educated. So a lot of times you can get. I mean, when first off, they talk to a bunch of YouTubers out here, and why did they know these YouTubers are putting out online what they said, so everything they said online, everything they talked to other YouTubers about, that all can come up in trial, that all can be used against them. I mean, if Stan can be, you know, against them, anything they said.
Well, I know there's a lot of people in jail because they confessed to a crime they didn't commit.
Yeah, exactly right.
Because the police told them, if you'll confess,
the hoax theory intrigued to me. I never saw a complete conspiracy theory. I didn't like whether I believed it or not. Yeah,
there is a conspiracy theory out there, but I don't see that being true.
yeah, I've heard everything. Uh, here's the thing: we can
Do armchair police?
I mean, we can armchair quarterback this thing. We can say we can have the experts. I could have experts on here. They would tell you what their body language was and all that. But until we know the truth about it, we're not going to know.
Said Stephen Hill. One of our favorite pastors was a Steve Hill.
Yeah, we did.
We weren't passing judgment by weighing evidence, which is holding others accountable.
Yeah, I just have some, I'm speaking of, I have some real issues with the animals being there and not raising so much pain that it doesn't alert Candace, and a stranger would not alert Candace or her grandmother, or even the kids in the house. When they hear dogs barking and everything, they automatically usually run to the windows to see who's there. I mean, that's what we do. If our dogs start barking here in Raising Cane, we open the windows to see who's outside.
Well, usually you say, "Hey, open the window and see who's outside," and
Right.
I say, "No, you do it." You're the one that said you have issues.
What?
You said you had issues. They all heard it.
Yeah, well, I have issues that the dogs didn't raise so much cane.
Well, you have issues.
And then I read somewhere that somebody was saying, well, she was in the basement, and somebody was either hiding in the basement or knew the basement pretty well and went down there, opened the door, and snatched her. And then I've even heard, well, they snatched her because somebody owed money. I've heard they snatched her because it was a stranger abduction. I've heard, I've heard things
now,
like
I had not heard about the sex offender living in the woods
by
the house.
I had heard that afterwards.
And so that gives me pause.
Yeah, but have they got the guy and questioned him?
Lisa said, "My dogs bark if a leaf blows by."
Yeah. I mean, have they got that guy, found out who he is, question him, you know? Find out if he's
There were 7 RSOs in the area.
registered sex offenders. Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, that's just
That's the first ones they
that's the
bring
first
in.
one. Well, I'm sure they go out and talk to him and find out where they were at during that time frame. Check their
Well, would they
alibis
if they
out.
were focusing on the parents, though? Would
Yeah.
they have already done that?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
They've not questioned many. How do you know that, Lori? Do you live in the area and know that, or I know people say, well, they haven't questioned them, but tell me how you know that. Do you know personally someone that is a sex offender that was not questioned? Because here's what we would do: if say a girl's missing from this area and I was working this case, then I would check. I would at least go to the door, because when you're a registered sex offender, you have a right to go question them. You can look in their house. You can do a lot of stuff that you don't have to have a warrant for. You can find out if they have an alibi or not. All I can say is that I've watched much YouTube
Say
investigation
is that if
as us,
you have
and
watched
the
as much
chat
YouTube
watched.
investigation as us and chat the, have watched, you would understand the numerous other people that could have come to light on this case.
Well, I'm gonna tell you this. Now, I don't want to make. I'm not argumentative at all, but I know for a fact, because I worked in law enforcement, that you will hear so much bull on the street about a case, and so much people will think you're not doing anything in this situation. It's just like working dope. I sit in my office, I have a lady calling me every week about her place out there, her house, near her house, doing drugs. Every single week. Could I tell her, oh, well, we've already had a couple of buys out of that house, or we're planning on doing a search warrant in the next 30 days, or I've got a federal case working against these people, major federal case? No. I might have to let this case ride on for a year of her calling me every day and telling all her neighbors that the police don't do nothing and we must be on the take, and we get paid off, or this guy knows the mayor, or all that kind of stuff. We've heard it all, but I couldn't tell her, oh yeah, I'm doing something on this, because nobody can keep a secret. And somebody's going to tell, if we'd have told the lady, yes, we've already made a couple buys out of the house, we're going to do a search warrant in about 2 months on this house, or I'm doing a federal indictment on them, and maybe the feds got a wiretap on their house, then I can't tell that lady, because that lady's going to tell her son, and her son's going to tell the neighbors, and the neighbor's going to tell the other neighbors, and pretty soon it's going to get back to the dope dealers doing all this stuff. So you can say to me they didn't talk to anybody, and you've listened to a lot of investigators on YouTube, but I'm going to tell you this: YouTube investigators are just sharing what they are digging up. They don't know 100%. They just do not know that law enforcement is talking to sex offenders in the area. And I would almost 110% guarantee that they are, because Tennessee Bureau of Investigation and the FBI know their stuff, and they're going to go around these sex offenders and ask them where they were on this date and time, and if they have an alibi. And if they don't have an alibi, then they're going to be considered persons of interest. They will not put that on the news, but
And they're not going to
they'll
tell
look at
you
it, and they're not going to tell me. They're not going to tell you, and they're
who
not
all
going
they
to interview room, and they're not going to tell uh, AK, and they're not going to tell me. They're not telling anybody that they're doing this. I
well, the thing
guarantee you, they
is,
talk to them.
they know that sex offenders are automatically already possibly in danger as much as they are dangerous.
because
Listen, sex
somebody,
offenders, yeah, I don't care if there's 1,000 sex offenders in a mile of that house. They were, I promise you, there'll be an FBI agent and a TBI agent probably together go to those sex offenders' house and ask them if where were they between the hours of so and so and so. And if they say, well, I was with John down the road, I work at his house. What's John's phone number right now, and how can I get a hold of John? And they're going to verify that. I guarantee you. And I mean, I'm not trying to be ugly here, but if all of you're doing is looking at what people write and talk about on YouTube about cases, you don't know 1% of what law enforcement's doing. I'm telling you that because I can speak from experience. We have a little thing, and I know you've heard it. Loose lips sink ships. You don't talk outside. We had a sign in our narcotics office that said, "What you see here, say here, stays here," and that's what it means. Because if you start talking out of school and telling people about what's been going on here or who I'm talking to here, then it's going to get out to the public. It always does. My supervisor, nobody but my partner, and sometimes not even he, knew who my informants were. I gave him numbers. Nobody knew them. Nobody. Not even the district attorney's office knew who they were.
Okay. Wait a minute. Juke said, my concern is how Candace reacted when the CB Mafia was mentioned. You remember when the
Cornbread Mafia.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's a real group.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I've never heard of the Cornbread Mafia. I've heard the Dixie Mafia. That's huge. The Dixie Mafia is huge. The Cornbread Mafia, though, I did look them up and do some research on them. They were a big marijuana smuggling organization in Tennessee. And most of the people in that so-called Cornbread Mafia are older now. They dealt in moonshine, they did marijuana, stuff like that. I'm sure that there are some still out there, but a lot of that organization turned into the younger people right now. They're not into all that stuff. They'd rather be in gangs and deal with
Stealing Kias.
Yeah.
Well, y'all, it was a good discussion about summer.
Yeah, and if you can give me something, your beliefs that doesn't come off of social media, then maybe you've got somebody who lives in that area, or you've heard this actually from law enforcement, and you want to email it to me, I would be very happy to discuss that with you offline.
Lori said, but law enforcement came out and said they have little to go on.
Yeah, and I'm sure that is. But at the aspect of that is, a lot of times they may still have a person of interest. They may still have a suspect, but they do not want to spook him by saying, we have somebody in mind.
Some Candalee said the Cornbread Mafia I heard came from Kentucky.
Yeah, it started out with moonshine. It started out growing marijuana.
We need to go take care of our daughter's cat.
Yeah, we've got to go to do that tonight.
We got to go take care of Mindy's cat, so she knows that we took care of her cat. We have to spend a couple of hours every day with the cat, so it don't get
Feed the
lonely.
cat, make sure it's got water. But like I said, you can email me at the missing livestream at gmail.com.
Lori said, Thomas, your law enforcement perspective does make sense. I listen to all angles. I have no ability to make a judgment.
And I know that. I know that. And listen, I don't either right now because I'm not involved in the case. If I was involved in the case, then I could, have a little bit bigger perspective. Yeah, and in the coming days too, we want to pay attention to what's going on. If they find Suzanne's body, we are getting up into summer.
Oh, I was going to tell you,
Summer weather.
AK posted a picture on his page where they had some rocks and they had painted a heart on them, and I guess they're making a big thing for her out there in that area.
All righty, but we'll see y'all later. We do appreciate y'all coming by
Wait,
tonight.
Juke said, Mr. T, do you think Summer is still alive?
Unfortunately, I do not. I hope she is. I hope that, well, if you ask or you look at any investigation out there, if it was an abduction, you better find them within the first 48 hours, 72 hours, I think it is.
Candalee said, I have followed this case since day one and still have no idea what really happened. That's true.
I don't either.
We don't.
I used to know a guy that was head over Tennessee. We're losing y'all too, Mike.
And if y'all will pray for me, I have trigger thumb, and what happens is if I cannot bend my thumb down like that on this hand. If I do, like in the mornings, if I do something, and it like I forget and it comes down like this, I have to actually pop it back up, and it is hurting so bad. And they said massage this, keep it stabilized. I don't know. They said they can do a cortisone shot, but it sure does hurt.
Yeah, for sure. So anyway, we're gonna let you go, and
thanks y'all for coming.
Thank y'all for coming. We love you, and we'll be praying for each and every one of you too.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.